I was sitting at table 7, right near the dance floor, watching my son Kevin beam like I hadn't seen him smile in 3 years. The wedding reception was everything Natasha had planned it to be. Crystal chandeliers throwing rainbow sparkles across white tablecloths. A string quartet playing something soft and elegant. Waiters gliding between tables with silver trays. My grandson Timmy sat beside me, swinging his little legs under the chair, his clip-on bow tie already crooked. "Grandpa, can I have more cake?" Timmy whispered, tugging my sleeve. "Let's wait a bit, buddy. You just had a piece." He nodded but kept fidgeting with something in his lap. I figured it was that little red toy car he carried everywhere, the one Helen had given him before she passed. God, I missed her. She would have known what to say at a moment like this. She always did. The thing was, I had reservations about this whole wedding. Kevin and Natasha had known each other barely 8 months. After his divorce from Patty, Kevin had been a mess, sleeping on my couch, hardly eating, throwing himself into work until he'd come home past midnight. Then Natasha appeared at some real estate conference, and suddenly Kevin was alive again. Too alive. Too fast. But what was I supposed to say? My son was happy. That's what fathers want, right? Still, something about Natasha didn't sit quite right with me. The way she controlled every detail of the wedding. How she'd insisted Patty couldn't come, not even to drop off Timmy. The cold look in her eyes when she thought no one was watching. "Grandpa." Timmy's voice was smaller now. "What is it, champ?" My car rolled away. Under the table. "Well, reach down and grab it." He did, disappearing under the tablecloth. I heard him shuffling around down there, his little hands patting the carpet. The music swelled. Kevin and Natasha were having their first dance, her white dress spinning like a cloud. Everyone was watching them, phones out, capturing the moment. Then I felt it. Timmy's hand gripping mine. Not the gentle touch of a 6-year-old asking for attention. This was different. His small fingers dug into my palm with surprising strength, the kind of grip that comes from pure fear. "Grandpa, I want to leave now." I looked down at him. His face had gone pale, his eyes wide and glassy. My heart kicked up a notch. "What's wrong, buddy? You feeling sick? Haven't you looked under the table?" His voice shook, barely audible over the music. Everything else faded, the music, the laughter, the clinking glasses. I leaned down slowly, lifting the edge of the white tablecloth. The dim light from above barely reached under there, but I could make out the table legs, some crushed napkins, Timmy's red car lying on its side. And then I saw it. A small black device, taped to the underside of the table, about the size of a matchbox. A tiny red light blinked steadily in the darkness. My carpenter's hands recognized duct tape immediately. Someone had placed this here deliberately, secured it carefully. My pulse hammered in my ears. I looked closer, squinting in the poor light. There was something else. A photograph, partially tucked behind one of the table legs, held in place with more tape. I reached under carefully and peeled it free. The photo showed Natasha, but she wasn't alone. She was standing close to a man I'd never seen before, tall, dark hair, expensive suit. They were outside some restaurant, and she was handing him what looked like an envelope. I flipped the photo over. There was a date written in blue ink. 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. That was after the engagement. After Kevin had introduced her to the family as his future wife. "Timmy, where exactly did you find these?" "They were just sitting there, Grandpa. And when I touched the photo, I heard voices. That black thing was making sounds. People talking. A recording device. Someone had planted a recording device under our table at Kevin's wedding reception and left a photograph of the bride meeting some stranger." I looked up, trying to keep my expression neutral. Across the dance floor, past the swaying couples, I saw Natasha. She'd finished dancing with Kevin and was now standing near the gift table. But she wasn't looking at gifts. She was looking directly at our table, at me. Our eyes met across the crowded room. Her smile was still in place, that perfect bride's smile she'd worn all day. But her eyes, they were sharp, calculating. She knew. Somehow, She knew we'd found something. I forced myself to smile back, to pat Timmy's hand reassuringly. It's okay, buddy. Everything's fine. Just stay close to Grandpa. But everything wasn't fine. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, glancing at the screen, while keeping that fake smile plastered on my face. Unknown number. A text message. Check the garden shed behind the venue. 10 minutes. Come alone. Someone who cares about Kevin. The garden path felt longer than it should have. Each step away from the glowing warmth of the reception hall took me deeper into shadows. Rose bushes lined both sides, their thorns catching the moonlight like tiny knives. I could still hear the music behind me, muffled now, mixed with laughter that sounded too distant to be real. My hand stayed in my pocket, fingers wrapped around my phone. I'd told Timmy to stay with Kevin's Aunt Barbara, made up something about needing fresh air. The look in his eyes told me he didn't believe it, but he nodded anyway. Smart kid, too smart sometimes. The shed materialized out of the darkness, weathered wood, a crooked door hanging half open. Every instinct Helen had spent 40 years drilling into me screamed that this was stupid. Meeting strangers in dark places. Coming alone. But that text message had said, someone who cares about Kevin. What choice did I have? I pushed the door open. Hinges squealed. Close it behind you. The voice came from the corner, tight with nerves. My eyes adjusted to the deeper darkness inside. Garden tools hung on the walls. Bags of fertilizer stacked in one corner. And standing near an old workbench, sweating despite the cool night air, was Leonard, Natasha's brother. You? I stepped inside, pulling the door shut. You sent that text? I'm sorry. His hands shook as he ran them through his hair. I didn't know what else to do. You found them, didn't you? The recording device. The photograph. You put them there. Yes. He looked at the floor. I had to. Kevin wouldn't listen to me. Nobody would listen. Listen to what, Leonard? What the hell is going on? He pulled a manila envelope from inside his jacket with trembling fingers. My sister isn't who she says she is. Her name isn't even Colvin. It's Volkov. Natasha Volkov. She changed it 4 years ago, after her first husband died. The shed suddenly felt smaller. Died how? They ruled it an accident. Carbon monoxide poisoning in his garage. But I was there that weekend, Walt. I saw things. The way she acted after. No grief, just relief. And then the insurance money came, and she disappeared for a year. Leonard opened the envelope, spreading papers across the workbench. Even in the dim light bleeding through cracks in the walls, I could make out official documents, marriage certificates, death certificates, bank statements showing transfers of hundreds of thousands of dollars. There was another husband after that, Leonard continued, his voice breaking. Mitchell Green. Divorced her after 2 years. Lost everything in the settlement. I found him 3 months ago, living in his car behind a grocery store. He told me Natasha recorded their private conversations, twisted his words, used them to prove he was mentally unstable. The judge gave her everything. My throat went dry. Why are you telling me this now? Why not before the wedding? Because she's my sister. The words burst out of him, raw and desperate. Our mother has cancer, stage 4. Natasha pays for all her treatment. Every penny. If I go to the police, if I destroy her, what happens to Mom? But I couldn't. I can't let her do this to Kevin. To another family. I picked up one of the documents. A newspaper clipping about the first husband's death. The photo showed a younger Natasha, tears on her face, playing the grieving widow perfectly. That photograph you found, Leonard said. That's Derek Phillips, private investigator. Natasha hires men like him to dig up dirt on her targets, find their secrets, their weaknesses. Then she uses that information to control them or bleed them dry in divorce. Kevin doesn't have secrets. He's an open book. Everyone has secrets, Walt. Things they're ashamed of. Mistakes they've made. Derek finds them. And if he can't find them, Natasha creates them. Compromising situations. Doctored evidence. Whatever works. I thought about Kevin, about how trusting he was, How desperate he'd been for someone to love him after Patty. How perfectly Natasha had appeared at exactly the right moment. "We have to tell him," I said. "Right now, show him all of this. He won't believe it. You think I haven't tried?" Leonard's laugh was bitter. "She's got him convinced everyone who warns him is just jealous or bitter. She's already been poisoning his mind against you, Walt. Little comments, subtle suggestions that maybe you can't accept him moving on from your daughter-in-law, from Helen's memory." Before I could respond, we both heard it. Footsteps on the garden path. Quick, purposeful, coming closer. Leonard's face drained of color. She knows. God help me. She knows I'm here. I grabbed the documents, shoving them inside my jacket. The footsteps were right outside now. The shed door flew open. But it wasn't Natasha standing there. It was Patty. Patty stood in the doorway, chest heaving like she'd been running. She wore jeans and a gray sweater, nothing fancy. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and her eyes were red-rimmed. "Thank God," she gasped. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Patty, what are you doing here? You weren't invited." "I know I wasn't invited." She stepped inside, glancing over her shoulder nervously. "Natasha made that very clear when she showed up at my house last night." Leonard made a choking sound. "She went to your house?" 11 o'clock, knocked on my door like we were old friends. Smiled that perfect smile of hers. Patty's voice hardened. Then she told me if I didn't leave the state by Monday, I'd never see Timmy again. My hands clenched into fists. "She threatened you?" "She has something on me, Walt. Something bad. Something I did 3 years ago that I've never told anyone about. Not even Kevin." Her voice cracked. "I don't know how she found out, but she has proof. Photos. And she said if I interfere with her marriage, if I so much as breathe wrong, she'll send everything to family court. I'll lose custody. I'll lose my son." "What did you do?" Leonard asked quietly. Patty's face crumpled. "During the divorce, I was so depressed. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. One night, I had 2 glasses of wine, maybe 3. I don't even remember anymore. And I drove to pick up Timmy from Kevin's place. I had him in the car, Walt, my baby in the back seat, and I was drunk. The shed felt like it was closing in." "Did you crash?" "No. Thank God, no. Nothing happened. I got him home safe, and I swore I'd never touch alcohol again. And I haven't. Not a drop. But someone took pictures that night. I didn't know. I never saw anyone. But Natasha showed them to me yesterday. Clear photos of me getting in my car. Timmy in his car seat. The timestamp showing what time it was. She even had my credit card receipt from the liquor store that afternoon." "Jesus," I breathed. "She's been planning this," Leonard said. "That's what she does. She collects leverage on everyone around her target. Family members, ex-wives, anyone who might interfere." Before anyone could say more, a sound split the night air. A scream, high-pitched, terrified. "Timmy," I whispered. We ran, all 3 of us bursting from the shed, racing through the garden toward that awful sound. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might explode. The rose bushes tore at my clothes. Behind me, I could hear Patty crying as she ran. We found him by the koi pond near the east wing of the venue. Timmy stood at the water's edge, his small body shaking, pointing at something in the water. "Grandpa!" He saw me and ran straight into my arms. "There's a man! A man in the water!" I looked where he'd been pointing. The decorative lights around the pond cast orange ripples across the surface. And there, floating face down, was a figure in a dark suit. "Call 911!" I thrust Timmy into Patty's arms and dove toward the pond. Leonard was right beside me. Together we waded in, the cold water soaking our pants, and grabbed the man. He was heavy, dead weight. We dragged him to the edge, hauled him onto the grass. I rolled him over. His face was pale, lips blue, but I felt a pulse in his neck. Weak, but there. A large bump swelled on his forehead, the skin already turning purple. "He's alive," I said. He's breathing. By now, wedding guests were spilling out of the venue, drawn by the commotion. Someone was shouting about calling an ambulance. Women in fancy dresses clustered together, hands over their mouths. Men in tuxedos stood uselessly, not sure what to do. And then Natasha appeared, pushing through the crowd in her white gown. "Oh my God, what happened? Is everyone all right?" Her voice dripped with concern. Her face showed perfect shock and worry. But I was close enough to see her eyes. They weren't worried. They were calculating, measuring, figuring angles. She knelt beside the unconscious man, touching his shoulder gently. "Does anyone know who he is?" I did. Even unconscious, even with that swelling on his head, I recognized him from the photograph Leonard had shown me. This was Derek Phillips, the private investigator. Timmy tugged on my wet sleeve. "Grandpa, I saw him before. He was following you to the garden. He was talking on his phone about handling the old man and the brother." His small voice got quieter. "I followed because I was scared for you." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The ambulance lights painted everything red and blue. Paramedics swarmed around Derek, checking his vitals, loading him onto a stretcher. Police officers arrived next, their radios crackling with static and coded messages I couldn't understand. The wedding had transformed into a crime scene. I stood dripping pond water, one arm around Timmy, watching it all unfold. Kevin pushed through the crowd, his face twisted with confusion and anger. "Dad, what the hell is going on?" He grabbed my shoulder, spinning me to face him. "First you knock a glass out of my hand. Now there's an unconscious man in the pond? Have you lost your mind? Kevin, listen to me." "No, you listen." His voice rose. Other guests turned to stare. "This is my wedding day. My one chance to be happy after everything I've been through. And you're destroying it." Natasha appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. Her white dress was somehow still pristine, not a spot on it. "Kevin, sweetheart, your father's been through so much. Losing Helen, maybe this is just too hard for him. Seeing you move on." The words were perfect, gentle, understanding, and they cut deeper than any knife. "That's not what this is," I said. "Kevin, there are things you need to know about." "About what?" "About how you can't stand seeing me with someone who isn't your precious Patty?" He gestured wildly toward where Patty stood holding Timmy. "Oh, that's rich." She shows up uninvited, and suddenly there's chaos. "Tell me, Dad, did you two plan this together?" A police officer approached us. She was maybe 40, with sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. Her badge read, "Officer L. Mendez." "I need statements from everyone," she said. "Let's start with you, sir." She looked at me. "You pulled the victim from the water?" "That's right. Me and Leonard." I pointed to where Natasha's brother stood, apart from the crowd, looking like he might throw up. "And you are?" "Walter Thompson, father of the groom." Something flickered in Officer Mendez's eyes. "The groom who just accused you of ruining his wedding?" "Family drama," Natasha interjected smoothly. "Walter's been having a difficult time accepting our relationship. My brother Leonard has some mental health challenges, and Kevin's ex-wife wasn't invited but showed up anyway. I'm afraid this whole situation has gotten out of hand." Officer Mendez studied Natasha for a long moment. "And you are?" "The bride, Natasha Colvin." "You seem very calm, Mrs. Colvin. Most brides would be hysterical right now." "I'm in shock, of course. But someone needs to keep their head in a crisis." Natasha's smile was small and brave. "Perfect." Officer Mendez turned back to me. "Sir, I'd like to take your full statement. Privately. Would you come with me?" Kevin started to protest, but the officer held up a hand. "I need to interview witnesses separately. Standard procedure." She led me away from the crowd, toward one of the police vehicles parked on the gravel drive. Once we were out of earshot, her demeanor changed. "That woman is lying," she said flatly. "I've been a cop for 15 years. I know a performance when I see one. What's really going on here?" Relief flooded through me. I pulled the documents from inside my jacket. They were damp, but readable. "You need to see these. Natasha isn't who she claims to be." Officer Mendez studied the papers, her expression growing darker with each page. Where did you get these? Leonard, her brother. He's trying to protect my son. These are serious allegations. Her first husband's death. This other man, Mitchell Green. She looked up at me. The victim in the pond, we found ID on him. Derek Phillips, private investigator, with a questionable record. Works mostly insurance fraud cases and divorce proceedings. Leonard told me Natasha uses him to gather dirt on people. That fits his pattern. Officer Mendez pulled out her phone, making a call. I could only hear her side. Yeah, it's Mendez. Run a full background check on Natasha Volkov, Volkov, also goes by Colvin, and pull anything you can find on a Derek Phillips. She paused. No, I'm serious. Priority 1. She hung up and looked at me. I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Thompson. This could go very wrong, very fast. If your son doesn't believe you, if he thinks we're harassing his new wife, he could lawyer up and shut this whole thing down before we find the truth. What do? We need more. Hard evidence, and we need it tonight. She glanced back toward the venue where the paramedics were loading Derek into the ambulance. That man's going to wake up eventually. When he does, I want to be the first person he talks to. Leonard appeared beside us, breathing hard. Officer, I have something else. Email account. Natasha and Derek have been corresponding. I have the password. Officer Mendez's eyes lit up. Show me. Leonard pulled out his phone with shaking hands, navigating to an email login. The messages that appeared made my blood run cold. Secure the Thompson assets by end of month. Old man won't be a problem much longer. Accident arranged for Sunday. Today was Saturday. Officer Mendez worked fast. Within 20 minutes, she had detectives from another jurisdiction on a conference call. Derek's phone, recovered from his jacket, was being analyzed. The spilled champagne from earlier had been collected and sent for testing. Leonard sat in one police car, giving a formal statement. Patty sat in another, doing the same. And I stood watching my son, who refused to even look at me. Kevin stayed close to Natasha, his arm around her waist, while she dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. The remaining guests were being interviewed and released. The wedding was officially over, destroyed, just like Natasha had promised it would be if I interfered. Except I hadn't destroyed it. She had. This was all part of her plan. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, expecting another update from Officer Mendez. Instead, my heart stopped. A photo filled the screen. Kevin's car. The black Mercedes he was so proud of. The driver's door hung open, and slumped in the seat, head tilted back, eyes closed, was Kevin. The message below made my hands shake. He drank from the bottle in the limo. You should have minded your own business. By the time he wakes up, he'll be somewhere the police will never find him. Come to the old Wellington factory on Riverside Road. Alone. 1 hour, or your son dies. I looked up sharply. Kevin was gone. So was Natasha. Officer Mendez! I ran toward her, shoving the phone in her face. She has him. She has Kevin. Mendez read the message, her jaw tightening. When did they leave? I don't know. 2 minutes ago? 5? Panic clawed at my chest. The Wellington factory. That's the old textile mill across town, abandoned for years. She was already on her radio, calling for backup, giving the address. We'll get units there in 15 minutes. That's too long. The message says 1 hour. But what if she's lying? What if she kills him anyway? Officer Mendez grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at her. Listen to me carefully. We can wire you up. You go in, keep her talking, and we come in as backup. But this is dangerous. She's already tried to kill one man tonight. Maybe more. I can't guarantee your safety. I don't care about my safety. That's my son. She nodded once. Then let's move. The drive to the factory took 12 minutes that felt like hours. Officer Mendez sat beside me in an unmarked car, fitting me with a small microphone under my collar. Backup units followed at a distance. Lights off. The building has multiple entrances. she said, studying a map on her tablet. We'll cover them all. But you need to get her talking. We need a confession on tape. Can you do that? I thought about Helen, about the promises I'd made at her deathbed to protect our family. Yes. The Wellington factory loomed against the night sky, broken windows like empty eye sockets. I parked where Natasha had instructed, in the loading zone near the south entrance. The backup units positioned themselves a block away. I walked toward the rusted metal door, my footsteps echoing on cracked pavement. The door groaned as I pulled it open. Natasha? Second floor. Her voice drifted down from somewhere above. Take the stairs on your left. I climbed carefully, testing each metal step before putting my full weight on it. The factory smelled like rot and rust. My breath came in short gasps, but I forced myself to keep moving. The second floor opened into a wide space where textile machines had once stood. Moonlight streamed through broken skylights. And there, in the center of the room, was Kevin tied to a metal chair. Duct tape covered his mouth. His eyes were half open, unfocused. Natasha stood beside him, still in her wedding dress. In her hand, she held a syringe. You came alone, she said. How noble. How stupid. Let him go. This is between us. She laughed, the sound bouncing off concrete walls. Between us? No, Walter. This was always about Kevin. About his money, his business, his life insurance policies. You were just an obstacle. Like your first husband was an obstacle? Her smile didn't waver. Thomas was weak. He found out about my past, threatened to expose me. The carbon monoxide was painless. He didn't suffer. And Mitchell Green? The man living in his car? Mitchell was boring, but profitable. She circled Kevin's chair, trailing one finger along his shoulder. Derek was supposed to handle you and Leonard tonight. Make it look like an accident after the wedding. A tragic mugging, perhaps. But he failed, just like everyone else I've ever trusted. Keep her talking, Mendez had said. Why, Kevin? What made him special? He was perfect, recently divorced, vulnerable, desperate for love, and his insurance business gave him access to accounts, policies, money I could redirect before anyone noticed. Plus, he had Timmy.